There were protests all over the country. We're going to be telling you about two of them. They were rival protests that clashed and bubbled over into violence, one in Berkeley, California, the other in Austin, Texas. So first in Berkeley, where police arrested 13 to try and keep the two camps separate. Now there was a camp for Trump supporters and Trump opponents. As fistfights broke out between the two sides and people threw bottles and cans over a barricade separating them, police resorted to using an explosive device at one point in a bid to restore order. Now, what was going on in Berkeley was an event that was billed as Patriots Day, which was a free speech rally and a picnic, mostly of Trump supporters. There were about 500 to 1,000 people in the park when it was at its peak, according to Reuters, and eventually it became very violent. There's a viral video going around right now of Nathan D'Amigo of a white nationalist group, Identity Europa, who was identified by multiple witnesses as the man seen in a viral video lunging at an unsuspecting woman with dreadlocks and viciously punching her before she had a chance to react. It's a really upsetting video. He is an attendant at Cal State Stanislaus, and officials have launched an immediate investigation into what his deal is and if he's going to face charges. He's an Iraqi war veteran and also a convicted felon. Now, what was going on over in Austin, Texas, the alt-right Mike Cernovich, who is a blogger, some of you guys might know him, says that he was assaulted. Let's take a video at his experience at an Austin, Texas rally.
I'm being assaulted. I'm being assaulted. Remember, this is assault. Look, I'm being pushed. I'm being pushed. I'm being pushed. I'm under assault. I'm under assault. I'm under assault.
Before you go on and we go to the second video, Grace, it appears that he's whispering sweet nothings into his ear more than assaulting him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that Cernovich is a special little snowflake in this case, where when a guy gets too close to him and starts talking to him, he starts, I'm being assaulted, I'm being assaulted. Okay, so that part I think is not a big deal. And both sides are trying to provoke each other. I hate this stuff. I love protests. I think it's the most American thing you can do, and it doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left. And so I just don't like it when it gets physical, and they're trying to provoke one another. Cernovich went there and started screaming at the people who are against Trump. Bill Clinton's a rapist, Bill Clinton's a rapist, Bill Clinton's a rapist, right?
Well, he takes to the stage. He starts saying it in the microphone, and then he sort of is shuffled over to the side, and then he starts yelling it. This is all on his live stream. And he was attending, or he was, I guess, crashing, a lot of people would say. It was a tax day rally in Austin. Protesters were calling to see Donald Trump's tax returns. So there was the Patriots Day organized by mostly Trump supporters in Berkeley, and then this was people who opposed Donald Trump in Austin, Texas, that Mike Cernovich was at.
Yeah, so they love playing the victim. The right-wing guys, the deplorable guys, and Cernovich was part of the guys who put together the deplorable, and it's hilarious because they had a fight over whether they should also be anti-Semitic or just hate everyone but the Jews.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough call. And so what they love to do is provoke, and then if anyone even gets close to them, go, I'm the victim, I'm the specialist snowflake of all, right? So that's part of this plan, and I hate that plan. So get your own protest.
Well,
which, by the way, I would say to the left in Berkeley as well. But there is a second video that I think is worse.
There is a second part of this. So as he is ushered out, well, let's take a look at what happened. This is also from Mike Cernovich's live stream.
You fucking hit first. Periscope. I'm on Facebook Live right now. I was just assaulted. You know, I had to punch a guy back. You know, I was assaulted.
So that's really unclear. I've watched it a couple of times now. And he said at the end there, I was assaulted and I had to punch a guy back, right? So it looks like somebody punched Cernovich as he was taping, but I couldn't quite tell because it was like, it didn't seem like the camera took the blow. It seemed like he was punching. But I can't tell. If they punch Cernovich and you've got it and the police can tell, that's definitely assault. That actually is assault. And so that should be prosecuted.
Yeah, well, these protests seemed fun. No, this is, when I see this, it's like, well, you have to separate the things that were happening at the protests that were the intent of the protesters at large, and then you have the incidents that occurred because people were either trying to distract from the original intent of the protest. They were, baiting people into giant reactions, and that's a separate issue for me. For me, I need to focus more on like the tax day protests as part of a larger series of protests to give a visual representation of the sheer amount of people who are in a resistance against the Trump administration and keep that momentum going past the 100 days after Election Day, as opposed to these little things, which are like, yes, I saw Chernovich. I saw the video. Originally, the video is filmed upside down, which makes you just, if you want to see the original version, go play this back and like put your phone up against the wall and stand on your head, because even your phone's smart enough to fix it, to flip it, and Cernovich wasn't. So it's so frustrating to watch these videos because they make me sick to my stomach, and I want to focus more on like the positive aspects of a protest than a negative.
Which we've totally lost, because obviously there were a number of protests during tax day about wanting to see Donald Trump's tax returns. And unfortunately, what we're going to be hearing about is the few cities where it turned to violence. Now, that didn't happen in Los Angeles, and there are cities across the country calling for the same thing where it didn't turn violent. But unfortunately, when people bait each other, this is what it's reduced to. It's just reduced to physical violence, and no one's point is heard. It's just a screaming match that everyone loses.
But that's exactly the point of the right wing. They say, oh, you have an interesting protest about tax day, right? And how Trump doesn't pay his taxes, and we don't know his tax returns, and we don't know if he did a deal with the Russians because he won't give us, oh, I'm gonna ruin your point because the mainstream media and everybody else loves violence. I'm gonna go and try to provoke violence, claim to be the victim, and distract you completely from the real issue. So at the end of the day, guys like Cernovich are going around thinking, mission accomplished, man. I get to be the snowflake, I get to be the victim, and I distracted you completely from what the essence of the protest was.
And does that point of view carry over to the people that crashed Patriots Day?
Yeah, it does.
In Berkeley? Okay.
Yeah, and so let them have Patriots Day. Don't be goofballs here where you got one guy dressed up as the Patriots and the other guys dressed up as gladiators and whatever else you're doing. Come on, guys. And then and then three absurd parts of that story. And you read it, Grace. The cops used an explosive device at one point in a bid to restore order. You know things have become messy when you do an explosive device to restore order. And then a weekly farmers market was canceled ahead of the rally due to concerns about violence, which summarizes Berkeley in a nutshell. Like, oh, should we have the farmers market, or should we have a bit of a violent protest?
Yeah.
Even so, by the way, a stall selling fresh vegetables remained open for business amid the fist fighting.
I feel like the right wing should have turned it into the framers market, like the framers of the Constitution. I think that would have been pretty smart.
Clever.
But yeah, this is frustrating, because even in the first thing you said, there's an assumption that the folks who are disrupting the Patriots march are part of anyone's movement whatsoever, when they might just be people who showed up wanting to fight.
No, I know, but that's why it's so counterproductive, because when you get baited by the Cernoviches or you get baited by the Patriots Day or whatever, then they get to say, aha, the left is the violent ones, which is super ironic. But in some of those cases, now look, again,
and literally impossible.
At the Patriots Day one, it's the woman getting punched by the right wing guys, right?
Yes.
But even if you don't ever touch these right wing guys, I know it's super hard. I know we get baited too. They come onto our set, they break the law, they trespass, they do all these things. But the cops, you've got to be impartial. And when they do that, you've got to remove them. If you don't, you're encouraging violence. And what I'm telling you is, if you're a progressive, we don't do violence. We do nonviolence. That's what makes us progressive. So don't get baited by these guys. Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. TYTnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
do it now. TYTnetwork.com/join.